Got it.
Hello, and other shoes. Hello, and welcome to our last and final workshop with Lex. I'm actually really sad because I've really been enjoying it. Our weekly meetings.
We'll make more for sure. This was a very pleasant experience, so we'll definitely have more. Goodbye for now, comma.
I like that. And so we're doing the third eye and the crown today. So a lot of really exciting stuff there. And I know, I know a lot of people are interested in like intuition and working with that third eye. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Lex. So the floor is yours.
Righty. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Something I wanted to mention before we started was the whole fact of us going from our root to crown. We did this on purpose because I personally feel if you have a good infrastructure starting with your root chakra and you work through each of those other chakras on the way to these last two, you get a better understanding of yourself as well, like because you're asking yourself these questions, you're working with these crystals, letting them prompt you into self-discovery. So when you do get to your third and crown chakra, you have more trust in yourself, a little better understanding of your emotions and your own energy and energy around you. Because these two, I don't recommend skipping to. You will feel a little crazy. The best way I could describe it, I don't have schizophrenia, but from what a friend of mine who does, I would say it's like similar to that. You go a little haywire and you stay, because you're not grounding the energy to throughout your rest of your energy system. So you've got like so much going on up here, but all these puppies are out of whack. You're not going to be able to integrate the incoming ideas or messages or the energy of working with these higher vibrational stones. Also, if you don't have a good basis with your grounding and your root chakra, you will get nauseous. Like you will start to feel sick working with super high vibrational energy stones. So that's why I don't recommend skipping to them. It's good to know that. It's good to know all that little basis. But we're going to start with our third eye, which is attunement. You do a lot of visualization in here. Like your mind's eye is another name that you probably heard it called. So when you see something in your head, but not necessarily outside, that's you seeing something with your mind's eye. This is your intuition and also a lot of mental concentration. So my first favorite stone for this would be Veracruz amethyst. It's a very high vibrational stone. Very pretty too. It's very rare. It only comes from this certain spot in Mexico in this one cave, but this is one of the highest vibrational stones out there. And it connects you to the ultraviolet like energy, they call it the violet flame. And it connects you to this like out of body energy, this slight, subtle energy. Veracruz brings about profound interdimensional and cellular healing, which is really cool because if you do all this work in here and you realize you start to change, the more you work on yourself and heal, like you do change on a molecular and DNA level. So on a cellular level. So this is going to kind of like wrap up all the work that you did and kind of like help realign all your new pathways and your new cellular programming and just kind of like relax it. It's very relaxing stone. I had written down here that interdimensional healing can also be like the interdimensions of yourself. So I personally feel like I've lived like a million lives just in this one current lifetime. So like imagine like that's a lot of recalibrating and that's a lot of interdimensional selves of mine that have come together as like this patchwork quilt. So this kind of helps you with that, like aligning all that, kind of stepping into your new skin, your new cellular programming. It helps also remove imprints and attachments. So like if you have, let's say self-doubt, that's a big imprint, like that'll kind of dampen your ability to visualize or have hope for your future. So you won't be able to put yourself in that emotional embodiment of your manifestation, which is very important. You have to feel it through your mind, body, and spirit. You have to believe it. You have to already embody that emotion now and that feeling now. Also, though, imprints and attachments from, let's say, other people's opinions or doubts about your life, your goals, things like that. And it's also called like psychic attack. Like if somebody's kind of a little negatively draining on your mentality, like kind of a psychic attack, or if someone tells you you can't do something and like that gets in there, it like seeds its way in. So this helps you remove those attachments. My favorite way for working with Veracruz amethyst, a lot of times they are double terminated like this. So you have the 2 points on them. So I like to put them right here on that third eye positioning, pop on some frequency healing music associated with the third eye. Very easy to do. Google third eye meditational music or sound healing music, and then lay down, close your eyes, and this crystal takes in that vibration and almost kind of seems to like equally distribute it for you into your ears, into your mind, like in your body, like you start to feel it in this spot, like literal vibrations. This will enhance and this like intense deep meditation, like probably the deepest that I've ever been in, and it kind of snapped me out of it because I got a little scared because I was in this deep meditation and I was seeing in my mind's eye like a glimpse into an ancient past life of me in this like tent with a little fire. Like you couldn't see all that, but you felt that. You knew you were in this dimly lit like old, there's like only candles and fire, and this like elderly woman was above me, like ushering me out, like I was dying, and it scared the crap out of me. But that is what this kind of a crystal will have you do. It will like have you connect to things that you wouldn't be able to really conjure based off of what you see in your physical world. It brings you to that outside of body, like that extra, that higher spiritual realm where you can really access and connect to all of that information, to all of that knowledge. You just ask yourself. That's what I do now. Instead, when I go into deep meditation states, I ask myself a couple of things that I want to go down the route on, instead of being super shocked like I was the last time. I was like, ah. So it's like a little helpful having like a little bit of a route, but lose yourself in a deep meditation like that every once in a while, and it's very beneficial for getting you out of being stuck in our present physical reality as well. It's just really eye-opening, literally, but it's eye-opening in a way that reminds you of that bigger connection, that higher realm, that spiritual connection. So by doing that, that's gonna help you be able to envision a future world, a new world into being, because you realize that there are no restraints. Like if you can access a deep meditational state like that, and knowledge that you didn't have before that meditational state, you start to realize your own power and how much power you have with this visualization tool. So that like you're like now excited. You're like, whoa, I can do that. And then you could start envisioning your new world and bringing that into your reality. This puppy also can cleanse all your chakras, but it's like specifically going to cleanse your third eye and your crown more so. So stick with that. That's a good, you can use, I'm going to talk about selenite to use for your other chakras today. But yeah, I like to keep him focused with the crown and the third eye, because like it's almost like a respectful thing. Like it's got that high vibrational energy. Like I use it ceremonially, like in a way, like on with specific intention, and kind of leave him on an altar, like you want to keep your crystal points intact too, like as much as you can, because it's having that point like that is where that focused energy is. So when you get a big chip out of it or something like that, and you lose that visual as well, it's not only bad energetically, but you lose the visual of that focused energy. So you can't make that connection into your physical world anymore. I have a lot of stones though with like broken tips. Like this one's got like a slight chip on the side, but it still comes to that point. So it still has a focused energy. I'm not saying throw out your crystals. I love them all. But it helps to keep your special ones for your higher vibrational work. Keep them nice, keep them on a little shelf. Keep them, don't carry them around. Like I recommend you carry around all your gemstones. When it comes to crystals, be a little bit more selective with how you carry them. Like I put this one to show you guys, like I will wear a Veracruz for for situations like this, like with an intention, like I'm talking about the third eye and that like that's its moment. I'm not gonna wear it though to like, I don't know, do something rough, like go outside and play or something like that. And then we're gonna, let's see. Oh, so amethysts in general, I also have a dog tooth amethyst or chevron amethyst to show, and a regular amethyst guy. You can see the difference because it's the white bottom, like it has a root, it almost looks like a tooth. And then this one is violet all the way throughout. So that's the difference between your Veracruz and your regular amethyst. But all your amethysts will actually help you with addictions and the codependency that comes with addiction. Because working with that spiritual realm through with these crystals helps you realize that wholeness comes from what you already have here, and that connection and that communication with the divine energy, that is wholeness. So when we're in addiction, we consider ourselves unwhole. We're always looking for something to fill a missing piece. Being a recovering addict myself, totally right. I used to think that I didn't have enough, like I didn't want to sleep so much because sleep brought nightmares. Instead of focusing on the nightmares, I went outside of myself and looked for something that was going to keep me up for X amount of days. And that's totally not good. And it's also telling my energy that I can't do this on my own, that I need to search for external validation almost. It goes into that too, but external help or something like that. So it's breaking you're creating an illusion of wholeness, but you're not actually whole. So working with high vibrational crystals, especially your amethysts, help you to see that to become whole is actually to be communicating and the immersion with spirit and that communication with the divine, what that brings out. So in turn, this will help you, your soul, to express your gifts more freely. Because when you stop seeking externally, you start to realize your value and your worth and all this specialness about you that you already have inside of you. So this really helps. And then you can see it in your mind's eye too, because you're not distracted. You can start to return to yourself and really like visualize, oh my gosh, this is a gift of mine that I have. But you can't do that until you accept the fact that you're already whole. You're always going to look for this external thing to fill that void. Someone had mentioned ametrine, so I'm going to slip that in there. That's amethyst and citrine together. So you've got your amethyst properties that ties in with that personal power that citrine brings and that fire, and that stone is extra cleansing because citrine is a natural cleanser and it doesn't hold or absorb negative energy, and it can charge and cleanse your other stones as well. And then you've got like the protection of citrine, the protection of amethyst. It makes it a really strong protection and cleansing stone, as well as that personal power, because you get that personal power here and you get it from that solar plexus when you work with the amethyst. So the next one would be purple fluorite. Here is one of my purple fluorites, very light. I like this one because it has a very visible stripe in the center. It's because crystals like this with inclusions or things you can see inside of and see this inner design, that in itself brings you into a mindful meditation in itself. Like I can't even look at this too much because I'm going to do it, but you start to see interdimensional things. You start to conjure and kind of think about different things when you have things inside of your stones. It draws your focus. So purple fluorite is calm, a stable frequency that brings order to chaos. So now you've opened this up with your third eye, you got that working, but then now I personally got overwhelmed with information after I did that. I was like, I don't know what's next because I can do anything. So what is it that I should do? You feel like you could do, you realize your own personal powers. So now you're like, oh crap, like that means I can do anything ever. Like if I just put my mind to something, I can do it. So then like, how do you order that chaos and like try and like start to figure out, a focus? And that's where your purple fluorite will come, because but all fluorites bring order to chaos, but this purple one will specifically work with that third eye the incoming visions that you're having, or the visualizations of your future, or that new world reality. So yes, supports spirituality and thought, focus, concentration, and balance. Will help you absorb information. The purple one is the most peace-giving of the fluorides. So that's why I like to work with purple fluorite the most, because it's gentle. It's almost like someone whispering to me, like, you're gonna get it, like you're gonna figure it out. Like, it's not a big deal. But like, I worked with other fluorites and they seemed like, especially darker colored ones, they seemed to be like, figure it out, like, you know it. And I'm like, I know it, but I'm more of a nurturer myself. I like nurturing vibes. So this one definitely brought me that. Boosts your intuition and psychic abilities, enhances mental sharpness. This is great. This is why it helps you with that focus and concentration, is because it brings your awareness to how you already think. Like, it makes you aware of how you do think. And now you're like, oh my gosh, I'm aware of this. And so now you can change how you want to think, if for the better, like, okay, this is how I think. Let me work with it? Or if there's, let's say you think negatively, it's going to bring your attention to that and show you and point out to you where your thought processes and the things that are going on in your mind are holding you back. It's going to show those things to you. Somebody had told me once, I don't know if this worked for me or not, but when you get that overwhelming ringing in your ears from like shifts in energy, I get them from hearing my crystals sometimes, because there's a lot in my space. She had mentioned, if you work with purple fluorite and tell the universe to quiet it down, like, the fluorite will help. And I don't know, it was too vague for me to understand that and put that into my own practice. But that does make sense when you think about, you have the power here, the control here, that you could technically say, I need you to quiet down. Because I did it and everything did quiet down, but I was in a state in my life where I was still just like, I don't know. And I remember, like, the sound stopped and I was just like, all right, I'll lay on this one and sleep on it for a while, because that was a little weird. So you can, like, ask your crystals or ask the universe and things like that to work with you in that way. But, like, I did that after doing this kind of a meditation. Like, I don't think I could just, like, stop in the middle of walking down the street and be like, oh, I got a headache. All right, universe, make the headache get away. Like, I had to get myself in that mindset and that connection to really, like, work with that energy. And I was like, that was weirdly accurate. But it was only after I induced that meditational state and you were, like, really connected with it. And I was like, I can totally control sound, like, because you feel that confidence. And if you believe in yourself enough, then you can definitely do it. So rainbow fluorite has all the same properties. However, it is also a bridge between your physical and your spiritual world, which is great when you're working with these stones, to put them together like that. Because rainbows, it's hard to, let me get this light for you. Rainbows are like the ultimate sign of, here, let me try to get this light so you can see in it. There's like rainbow stripes. It's a lot of different colors in there. Rainbows are a big significance of, like, source energy, God, like, because of it has all the colors, that Roy G. Biv scale, and, like, that only exists in, like, the heavens. Like, when we see rainbows out in the sky and we think of that, that's like a spiritual thing, like, it's so overwhelmingly beautiful and natural, and all these colors came from just, like, this light spectrum, like this unseen energy, which we have inside of us. So when you see that unseen energy present itself in the form of a rainbow, you're like, oh yeah, I've got that in me. Like, I can cause something like that. I can do something like that. It, like, brings this unseen into seen, and rainbows have that direct connection with the spiritual and energetic realm in that way. Moving to our crown chakra. Oh, one more in our third eye, indigo gabbro. So it's hard to see. It's got, like, these blue/purple mottled amongst the black stone. This stone will help you to attune to your other stones. especially your higher vibrational stones, because those are hard to tune to. If you, especially like I said, if you skip all that other work and you try to jump in, might get nauseous, you might feel a little sick, especially like old crystals, working with like really ancient guys, they're a little harder to connect with in that energy. So indigo gabbro, if you hold it in one hand, and then the stone or crystal you're trying to attune to in the other hand, and visualize, because we're activating this again, you visualize the indigo gabbro energy moving up and towards this area, your crown chakra, and then you're visualizing your other stone doing that same thing, traveling up your arm, and they're meeting here for like, oh, we're friends, and we're gonna integrate right here and like meld together. That's another stone I only really work with ceremonially, because he's also known as mystical merlinite. Like, this is a very special, like, wizardy stone. Like, you want to use it for intentional purposes. So that's why I got a giant hunker of one, and that's obviously not a casual wear. It's something I wear when I'm like working with a new guy, or I got a new one in my zone, or like Herkimer diamonds. Like, I don't need to wear it that long to really connect with that new stone. But back in the day, I would have to wear it for like a day or two, because it would take a long time for my body to adjust to that higher vibrational energy. Okay. Oh, and mystical merlinite also will help you ground because of that dark blackness. So it's like black amongst purple. That's why it helps you integrate, because root chakra, you need a strong root chakra and connection to earth to integrate these upper energies. And that's what this guy is representing. Moving on. Oh, all right. This is what I've been super psyched about. Been trying not to talk about it too much online, because I wanted to save it for this. But here, we're going to talk about natural crystal points and how they naturally form with 6 sides, as seen here, and come to a convergence in the top, this terminated 1 point. Now, what this represents is you have 6 sides representing each 6 of your chakras, and how they all come together in this point, this last point, will be representational of your crown chakra. So that being said, this is why crystal points are also, or crystal quartz is known as your like master of all healers, because it really can incorporate each chakra when you program it to. You can use these intentionally to focus this energy and dedicate it for a certain thing if you wanted to, like heart shot, like, with a positive affirmation or whatever program. I call it hanging out with them, because like the more you hang out with anybody, they understand you, your dreams, your desires, your intentions, your goals. And I don't want to like do what I tell you. Like, I'm a teamwork person, so we just hang out, and like eventually what you're feeling and what you're going through, and because now you have this better sense of knowing thyself, you're hanging out with this guy and you're honest. So like, it's picking up on that energy, it's picking up on that intention, and it's going to help amplify what you're trying to manifest or try to bring into your reality. A lot of times a crystal will call, and you sit with it and you start doing this hangout process, and it tells you something. You choose it because you think you're doing the choosing. But then you get halfway through this process, and I guarantee you're going to notice something about this crystal that you didn't notice before. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, you just taught me something. One thing before I move into crystal formations is 7 chakras. The number 7 in general, even in the Bible, is like representational of wholeness, is this completion, is this wrapping it up. Like, God made the world on the 7th day, he rested. Like, all right, we completed the journey. And there's so many references of 7 in the Bible and ancient and other ancient texts as well. And then you got our 7 chakras. That's your wholeness right there. You're already whole. So that was really cool for me to put those two together one day. I was like, oh my gosh, like working with these crystals is like your ultimate realization of your own wholeness, like your own spiritual connection, your own divinity. And I thought that was really cool. Now you've got this is what I mean by when you hang out with them and you get another, like this guy, like, let's say I just chose him because he looks cool. He's got a lot going on the inside, but then I also have a PDF that I will give to Sherri to put on the group is the explaining every single formation with pictures. See, this guy is also a twin crystal. He's got a second guy attached to him here, and he's a little smaller. So that would make this crystal really good with working with other people. So it's going to help you have realizations. Let's say you're having like difficulty working with somebody or just collaborating or whatever it is. But specifically when it's a smaller one like this, it's like significant of a parent-child type association or a boss employee, like how you work with this, like this parental almost type of person or energy. If you see crystals like this guy, he still is a little shorter, but they're very much almost the same size. This is like, you're collaborating with somebody, or maybe you have a disagreement with your neighbor and you're like, how do I handle this without snapping at him? Like, I hang out with twin crystals for that. Then you have tabular crystals, which are these little wide guys, and they have like this flat window face. You can even like see me through it. You can use tabular crystals to like, let's say you write your intention down on your notebook and then you place the crystal over the word and you see the word through the crystal. This is a way of programming that crystal to the intention underneath. You start to pull it away from your notebook. You still can see it. You're like burning the image into your mind's eye. And so when you take it away, you can still visualize that imagery or that word or Reiki symbol even in the crystal. And now this crystal is programmed to do that job. And you can place him on yourself or on someone else, or or just keep in your area. Like I once used a happy face and programmed one to just be happy, good energy, because like I knew that I felt in my chest something unhappy was going to happen. So I like envisioned that, and then I kept my little happy crystal with me. So I love naturally forming crystal points. Like this, they amaze me. Like if they can grow in all these different ways. There's also a thing called self-healed crystals. This guy has broken right here, and there's all these little bumps on him. That's actually him trying to grow back. And let's say if I lived long enough, I would probably see a new crystal start to form. Thousands of years, I don't know how long it takes, but these little bumps have been here for a while. And they have gotten a little bit more rough as like they're a little more pointy than when I first got this guy, because I've had this one for like 7 years. So you will actually be able to see a crystal with like a line through it on the inside. It looks like it's broken, but then if you touch it like this with your finger, it's not broken on the outside. It's just in there. That is a self-healed crystal. And how far down the break happens and how self-healed on top of is a direct correlation in like where in your own life did that trauma and pain first happen to you that you then had to self-heal on top of. I remember when I first meditated with a self-healed crystal and I noticed that in there, I lost it. I started crying because nothing I felt understood me in my entire life except for that crystal. He was broken like all the way down here. And I was like, oh my God, like I feel you, buddy. And like we grew past it though. We did it. I carried that one around until it got cloudy. Like that's how bad I needed that guy at that time. You also have crystals like this. This is super cool. He's one big point. He's a double terminated point, actually. He's super old, super wise. He broke off naturally at some point in his cave or like his dwelling, wherever he was hanging out. And all these other baby crystals started sprouting up on top of him. Now, in the crystal world, this would be considered a super wise old crystal. And all these babies or barnacles are being attracted to him because of his knowledge and because of his wisdom. So whenever I hang out with this crystal, like I get a slight feeling of like he whispers to me like, I'm really tired of like, teaching these babies all the time, but like I know it's my job. Like I know that it's my job as somebody with awareness or with wisdom to have the patience to try and teach all these young bucks, all these young little guys, the right way, the best way to exist. So that also will then trigger for you in your life a sense of community and working with your community and a cohesiveness in that fellowship, because like he's overloaded. Look, he looks stressed out almost, like, and I give him his time. I pay attention to the main point when I work with it sometimes. So I'm like, I'm giving you attention. I understand you on an equal level. I know you're tired, like, but it reminds me to take breaks, to take rests, because that's just something that I strive to do in my own community. It's like helping others, teaching them what I know. And it can become tiresome. It can become hard. That's why it's important for us as people who share our knowledge to take that time to rest, to accept and to acknowledge it, not to get mad at it, So that always reminds me of like working with your community, having patience with that whole process. And there's a lot about this guy too that he has in his formations that they're called like bridges, because there's certain crystals that'll cross themselves like this, and that's going to bridge your thoughts from, let's say a rigid thinking. It's going to bridge it to this new thinking or like this new idea. A lot of times when we have a new idea that seems to come out of nowhere, like our clear knowing, we have that little bit of a divide. So that bridge crystal is going to really help you like shift that energy and that focus to that new dimensional thought, that interdimensional thought. Yes, I have out here too more talk about the Lumarian seed / lacer quartz crystals. Very similar to a regular quartz point. I don't have a small one with me, but the big difference is, okay, so this guy, he's flat and he's shiny. This guy has these lines, these visible lines you can actually see. And when you run your finger down them, they're like little steps. So that is like the ultimate focuser of energy. They taper as they grow. They're super strong. They're super focused into this point. They have these steps that actually can, if you kind of hang out with it enough, you can have a meditational, what's it called? Now I'm like doing it too much. You can have this moment with this crystal and it like kind of opens up your mind to ancient thought, like the Akashic records, like the stairs, the ascending steps to the spiritual realm. Like it's just a very powerful crystal. You have to don't wield it lightly. Like I remember when I first started learning about this guy, it was like in bold print. Do not point at somebody. Just don't point it at anybody, especially if you have like ill intentions. Like it's just not a good idea, because it's very focused, powerful, strong crystal. You can use this crystal to remove attachments from your auric field or your energy. I actually wire wrapped a couple of these into swords. It's like little sword shapes. So you could be like, cutting off this cord. I'm cutting this energetic entity out of my space. And you really do the motion as you're doing this meditation. You visualize where you have the connection. You visualize where the debris is, and you literally just cut the cord, or you can literally like wrap it up, like do one of these and like flick out the debris. You can also do that if you have like a headache. You can meditate, visualize the headache, where that pain is in your mind, and use this puppy to like wrap it around like spaghetti. And you have to flick it, get rid of it. And it really does work. I'm not recommending that for migraines. Migraines are like a whole another animal, but I had a tension headache one day and I did that and I flicked it across the room. And right as I flicked, and I felt it in my mind, like land on something like the trash or something. I was like, wow, you do feel a pressure, a release, because you're putting it all here. You're focusing that energy, and then you're utilizing this as a tool to rid it. Let's see, Lumarians also. Oh, you can activate your crystal grids with a laser quartz or a Lumarian seed because of that strong focused energy. So you laying out your grid and you connect each stone, each crystal to themselves with like an imaginary line. And then after you finish, you're like, okay, this grid is now activated, is now ready to do its job. You can literally, like, once you do that and you're in this rooted, open-minded meditational state and you're working with your grid, I feel like I see it in my mind as like this all of a sudden like a portal, like like the light comes on and like he's activated and like I see like little blue sparkles, like it's just like this energy really comes to alive. Let me see anything else I want to mention with them. Room attachments, yeah. So that's there's a lot of stories about Lumarian seeds. It would take me about 30 minutes to really talk in depth, but I do have a video on my YouTube channel where I go real into depth, like all the details about the Lumarian seeds, the story behind it, and more in-depth details. So I will put that link for you as well. This is a great stone to work with for your crown chakra as well. Celestite and angelite are very, very similar. But that helps you access that higher dimensional spiritual realm. But the reason why I brought those up though is because I wanted to really talk about crystal skulls. And crystal skulls, they are wise beings. Like they already, sometimes, most of the time, they already have a being inside of them, because they've got personality, but literally they have like this energy in them that if you just kind of work with it, hang out with it, and ask that presence, that being to show themselves, they will. Like a name will pop into your mind and you're like, I guess that's its name, like something like that will happen. But working with crystal skulls opens your mind up to wisdom, like that clear knowing wisdom. Like when I first started working with this particular one, the fact that it's angelite and it's also a crystal skull really blew open that crown chakra like connection. And it started whispering things that didn't make sense, but I wrote them all down. And then I went down like a little rabbit hole of study and research, like after I was done hanging out with the skull. And it brought me to like a map. Like if you're looking at a map, it brought me to a specific sea on this map. So then I'm looking at the sea and I started looking at the ancient civilizations right outside of that sea. And I started learning from that, like, the lessons of that ancient civilization. And it answered a lot of questions that like I didn't really even know I had. So that's what you're working with crystal skulls is going to do. Crystal skulls are like totally your crown chakra. You're working with an entity that already has knowledge. Selenite, big old chunk. This guy is another high vibrational crystal. It could cleanse your energy, even if it's just hanging out in your room. But sometimes I like to just do a nice wave over like a wand. It'll cleanse and recharge your energy. My favorite to work with selenite is out in the sun. If you get a chance to bring your selenite out in the sun and let that sunlight hit it, it glows so bright. You don't have any doubt that there is another realm other than this physical. Because if that thing can create a soft, beautiful, almost blinding glow, like it's great. It recharges you. You feel like excited, like you understand that wholeness again and that connection and that communication with the divine. So that's really why it's charging you, because you're like, yeah, like that's what's up. So selenite's great. Bring that out. I make a grid and I do like a grid around me and I sit in the middle of it and I'm like in that portal of that light energy. Yeah, selenite will also charge, cleanse your other crystals too. So you can have like a big chunk like this and you can just like lay him on top. You're like, I think you need some cleansing. A lot of times your darker stones will pick up some, your tourmaline. Oh, tourmaline and selenite together are like my favorite combo, because then your tourmaline's always getting that cleanse that it needs and that recharge, and you don't have to like worry about it so much seeping back into your energy. One more crystal before we go. Super 7. This is like the tie up to everything. Super 7 crystal, your wholeness, your completion. Super 7 is 7 different stones, crystals that like, under the right conditions and the right location was able to create its own crystal. It is not a included crystal. It is not a terminated crystal. It is its own crystal. The Harmony Stone is another one of its nicknames, but Super 7. So I'm going to get this light for you so you can see through it, kind of a little bit. Very hard, but you can see the different layers inside this guy. You will actually see all 7 colors. There's Goliath, there's rutile, there's smoky quartz, there's amethyst. So working with a super 7 is like, first off, it brings a sense of, if these crystals can come together and create something new, we can do that. So that's that first imagery that I get from working with a super 7. The second is that completion, that wholeness, that it takes a lot of working moving parts to complete that one whole. So then it also brings me to the collective and remembering our oneness and our connection with each other and the spiritual dimensions, the spiritual world, the energetic world. Like, super 7s are very powerful in that way. Super 7s will help you bring about that turning that you need of understanding, like that new, the age of, good for the age of Aquarius, which we're actually in right now, which is a change of, we're stepping into new, different change. We're embracing all those kinds of energies now. You know, we could see it happening, but it's up to us to really embrace the whole idea of, in the face of adversity is opportunity. And if they can all merge into one crystal, that is adversity into opportunity, if I've ever seen it. Yeah. Oh, and you know, here's another, lots of different points, like lots of different people you're working with. Like, I had an instance where somebody was kind of triggering me in an angry way, but I was like, I don't want to react the way I used to with this situation. So I held on to this guy for a while, because a lot of people played into this. There's a lot of people that could have been affected by the relationship I had with this other person. So it's like that's us. And then these are all the people that would have been affected if I didn't respond and handle the situation with my higher self or my higher spiritual self. So I have a PDF I will send to you guys for that, we can have it on like I think they have that PDF thing files on the group, right? Okay, cool. So yeah, any questions? I know we're wrapping up.
No. And if anyone has any questions and you don't want to speak out loud, you can type in the chat box and I'm happy to read it out loud. But I do want to thank you, Lex. Like, this has been amazing. I love learning from you. I love the knowledge that you have. And it seems like every time you open your mouth, I'm like taking notes. I'm like, this is good. And then I need like all the crystals.
Yeah. I know, right? You get into that and you're like, how do I get all of them? Like, that's the goal.
I know. I'm working on it. One day. But thank you so much, and you've been truly a blessing for all of us. I'm sure everybody would agree with me when I say that, so thank you. And for anyone who is interested in learning more from Lex, you can follow her on, she does some great TikToks. She has a Facebook page, and I'll put all of that in the replays so you can follow her. It's a good idea. The replay listing, so you can follow her and talk with her, and maybe if you want her to help you make a grid for your own goals, and she can help you with that. And she's fantastic. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone to her and been like, Lex, I need that crystal. I need this thing that you're talking about. Like, help me. And she's like, okay, here you go. So she's a fantastic gift to the world. So utilize her knowledge.
Thank you.
Right. And if anyone does want to do any additional donations or as thank yous to Lex, you can do that using the donor box link. But yeah, thank you everybody. And it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here, for your questions, for your attention. It's truly been a pleasure. Thank you.